What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Funhouse. I am Kevin Cotillo, and as you can see, I am no longer in the murder basement. Steve, you like the new digs?
You know what? It threw me for a loop. I'll tell you what. It's backdrop Kevin here now. It seems a little different, but still somehow oddly the same.
Yeah, it's still kind of creepy, I guess, huh?
I think I felt like you were in custody.
No, I'm. You keep wanting me to get picked up by the feds. It's not happening, Sal. I'm telling you.
Silent room or something that they put you in.
No, so my wife was tired of all of our listeners calling this the murder basement, and so when I came down here tonight, she had hung up a nice little backdrop for me. So I feel like I'm in a little little softer area. So I'm excited to podcast tonight. I am ready. I think it's going to help me focus. There's less electrical work going on around me, and if Sal ever gets off his lazy ass and comes and finishes my basement for me like he's promised multiple times.
I'm gonna need to come this weekend, Kevin. I need the money. I just paid $140 for a steak and 4 Blue Moons.
Hey, at least Blue Moon's a good steak beer, so you did well there. I probably would have gone with a nice wine. If you're already in that deep, you might as well go all the way. But
yeah, keep going.
I'm not a wine guy, but I do have a friend of mine just got back from Italy, and he gave me a fantastic bottle of red wine that's made by his family in Italy. Everything on the label is written in Italian. I might have to break that out.
I'll tell you what, I'll buy it off you. You're looking for a little extra money. Send it my way.
I need 140 cash.
All right. So, guys, we were going to start the show off by talking about some news, but there's really not a lot happening. There are some games being played right now. We're into the 4th week of preseason. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot this week that's really going to help us make too many fantasy decisions. Really, this is mostly guys fighting for roster spots. The biggest news in my area was Gronk got a little bump in pay today, all through incentives. From what I understand, they actually brought Dwayne Allen and Gronk in the room at the same time, and Dwayne Allen just signed over his money to Gronk. So
here, you just give this to him. You guys take care of this. Just transfer that straight over to Gronk. That was hilarious.
Good news. We have a spot for you on the team this year. It's going to cost you $4 million.
I'm sure he was happy to do it. At least he's guaranteed a shot at a championship ring. So there's always that.
Well, you're playing a very tough division. It's true.
Yeah, it'll be a tough one. Hey, speaking of the division, since last time we talked, there was a little bit of a change up in New York there, Sal. What's the buzz going on with Teddy Bridgewater being sent over to New Orleans?
Teddy Bridgewater off to New Orleans for a 3rd-round pick. So the Jets essentially paid $1 million to get a 3rd-round pick in the 2019 draft, which for the most part I believe is a good value. It seems like for once they actually had a front office person who made a quality decision and did that. The right thing to do here is to have Sam Darnold start. He definitely looks like he's ready. He's going to struggle. Listen, this is what happens with rookie quarterbacks. We said this before. Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions the first year he was in the league. And the second year, that team, if you look back, went 3-13 in his rookie season and 13-3 in his second season. Now, is that likely for the Jets? Probably not. But in this NFL, you don't really let these high draft picks sit on the bench for a year. We all believe that at some point Baker Mayfield's going to get a shot to play because the Browns are not going to be great. I mean, it's going in the right direction. But I expect Mayfield to play also. This was the right way to go. So I think it's a good deal for the Jets.
And I'll say on the other side, I think it's a great deal for New Orleans too. They've got Drew Brees there, obviously, and Teddy Bridgewater's not going to start over him, but his years are numbered, so he's not going to be around forever. And to already have a guy on the roster in Teddy Bridgewater and giving up a 3rd-round pick for a viable starter in the NFL, you have someone that can instantly take over for New Orleans, and they don't have to miss a beat in terms of who's running that offense. So I think it was a great move by both teams.
You think that when Teddy got off the plane, he was like, "Your days are numbered here, Breeze. the jig is up."
I got to wonder though how if there's something known about how long Breeze is going to play. I mean, if they have any kind of inkling that maybe this is his last year or something like that. You don't know for sure. I think him and Sean Payton have been pretty close throughout the year. So if anybody knows, I would imagine he does. So maybe there is a little inkling there, but I think it's a great move all around for both. It makes me angry when the Jets make smart business decisions, and that really just was one. It was a lose-lose situation in signing him because, best case scenario, they get they get a draft pick for basically cash, and worst case scenario, they were stuck with having an extra backup on their roster, or they paid $1 million for and got rid of him anyway. So great business decision there, and it was good to see all around. So. That's it. That's all the news.
Thank you, everybody.
Pretty ugly.
Good luck in your drafts. Have a good night.
As we've been doing, we're going to try and get you a little bit more prepared for your drafts that are coming up. Steve, how many drafts you got this weekend?
4. I've got 4 in the next 5 days starting tomorrow, and 2 of them are live, with the third one being on our conference call for falafel. So that I'll consider that live as well.
I like how you try to make it sound professional by calling it a conference call.
Yeah. Yeah. It is anything but professional. Those calls get a little wild.
I actually do have a draft taking place in a conference room at my office, so that'll be fun. That's next week. I got a couple more this weekend as well, so that'll be fun. Sal, what about you? You got a few going on right now, or what?
I have 3 more drafts left between now and Tuesday. So. I've done a ton already. I did the old school draft this past weekend. It's winding down. I'm sure something will pop up on top of that between now and Thursday night. I'll probably have a 4th one somewhere.
When you do the old school draft, do they have pencil sharpeners around? Like, do you have to do they get the crank ones, or do you have to manually do it
to the wall?
Basically, you got to come with your own pencil case. And you got to be prepared with that. You have to have the big, silly pink and white eraser, depending on what you have to erase. And it's very old school, but I have a lot of graph paper.
Graph paper. Oh, that's great. All right. Yes. So we're going to help you get ready tonight by doing a live mock draft simulator on fantasypros.com. If you haven't checked out their draft wizard tools, they have a lot of great stuff that you can use, to get ready for your drafts. But who else has great stuff to get ready for drafts, Sal? The Quant Edge.
Yeah, they do. And since I was basically out drinking tonight right before this episode, I didn't have that read open.
Oh, I'm glad that I threw it to you for that then. That's just it's great when that happens, because it makes us seem so much more professional.
Oh, we're definitely professional, but let me tell you.
I gotta say though, Sal, I hate complimenting you, but up until tonight, you have been very good with this read. So so at least there's that.
Well, the good news is, for those of you watching live, I screwed it up. But those of you listening to this, we can always have edited this out, Steve. Let me ask you this, guys. Are you tired of getting crushed by the pros?
I am.
Well, listen. DFS players and sports bettors, listen up. TheQuantEdge.com has the tools you need to play like a pro. With our lineup optimizer, injury tool, wide receiver cornerback matchup, and head-to-head tool, you will be armed with everything you need to win. You can make up to 150 lineups in seconds, see matchups to exploit, and compare players to help you make the right decision that you're on the fence about, all at TheQuantEdge.com. You'll get exclusive access to our industry experts, articles, podcasts, and the TQE community by participating in the premium membership chat. We here at the Fantasy Football Funhouse have a special deal for our loyal listeners. And when I read this the first time, Kevin, you weren't on the show, and I wanted to say that even the non-loyal listeners, we don't care if you listen every once in a while. Go get the deal.
Yeah,
do it.
Get the deal.
We don't care who you're loyal to.
If you're listening tonight for the first time and then never listen again, still get this deal. I mean, why not?
And if you use promo code FFFunhouse, that's 3 F's and an unhouse, you get 10% off the season-long subscription. But you're running out of time. August 31st, the last day of August. That's it. After that, you're going to pay full price. So I'm telling you, go there as soon as you hear this. Go, put in the code FFFunhouse, and you'll have all season long everything you need into the playoffs. QuantEdge.com. Sign up now.
What's an unhouse?
That's 3 F's in an unhouse, Kevin.
Oh yeah. All right. So listen, if you go to the Quant Edge and you get that done, you're going to be well prepared for your fantasy drafts. That's for sure. You can also check out all the stuff at gridironexperts.com because you may be finding us here on that feed. If you haven't checked it out, you can find us on that feed. So you can go over to gridironexperts.com, check those guys out. They got lots of articles, great information for you to win your drafts. We love being a part of that family. Those are great guys. We've been in that draft already. I looked at my team yesterday for that after, it was my first time to kind of revisit because that draft ended a few days ago, maybe a week ago now. And I'm really unhappy with the team. So I was really confident a few days ago, but then when I went back and looked, I realized I'm not that confident at all. But
that's a 16-teamer. That's a deep one. So
it's tough. But we are going to do a live simulator tonight. We're going to share the team because we're only going to have one team here. So the three of us are going to get a consensus pick going. As I mentioned, we're going to do it on fantasypros.com. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully those of you watching along can see this. And we are going to do a PPR draft. We are going to randomize the draft position so we can get a nice little random selection here. We're going to pick second. So that's good. We've already set it with 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 4 flex positions and 6 bench positions. We've eliminated the kickers and the defenses simply because, we don't typically play with kickers and defenses anymore on a lot of our leagues. I know, Sal, you probably have lots of leagues that still do because you're that type.
Old school league has no kickers, but it does have defense.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me that you seem to be okay with kickers and defense, and yet you still call non-PPR leagues homeless scoring.
I'm not okay with it. I'd rather it all be gone.
All right. All right. So that's it. We're going to go with that, and we're going to start now. So, guys, we're on the clock. Steve, I feel like, I felt like Todd Gurley was going to be first, and lo and behold, Todd Gurley is first.
Yeah, that's okay because I am fully behind David Johnson as RB1 in fantasy this year. I would take David Johnson. If I had pick 1 through 4 and he was there, I'm taking him.
This is what's going to be great about this tonight because we're not going to agree on a lot of stuff, and it's going to be awesome for everybody. My vote would still be for Le'Veon Bell here. So, Kevin, we'll let you be the tiebreaker, and I'll be happy with whatever you guys go with.
Yeah, so for me, that's a tough choice. It's between the two for sure. I would not take Elliott here, although I know a lot of people are leaning Ezekiel Elliott. Some are even taking him number 1 overall, which seems crazy to me. For me, it's definitely between Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, and I personally lean David Johnson.
I'm out.
I've been on record as saying I think he could have a 1,000 season this year. I don't know that they're going to struggle on offense, and I get that. But I don't know that they have too many other options for him. We know Larry Fitzgerald is there, but we're not sold on the quarterback. So I think he's going to have a huge season. So we're going to go ahead and draft David Johnson.
Yes.
The best part about this draft is we don't see Kevin.
Yeah, you can't see me, and even more so, I can't see you guys because in order to share my screen, I have to have this on the screen.
You don't want to see the sign language I just gave you.
So I cannot see anything that you guys are doing. Look, you can see what just happened there. Obviously, we have a long way to pick in between picks since we picked second overall. Lots of players off the board. Anything interesting in that first half that jumps out to you, Steve?
No, I think these first 2 rounds are pretty cut and dry. You got all of the studs in there. They all seem to be going kind of where you would expect them to go. Maybe a few more running backs just because it is a PPR league. I would expect maybe a few wide receivers to inch up in there, but they did not.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Seeing DeAndre Hopkins go at 1.7 is a little bit of a surprise for me. I would figure Barkley would go there and maybe even Hunt and Gordon before Hopkins, but Hopkins went with the 1.7 and Odell at the 1.9. So it looks like I guess this is a computer generated mock, but they usually go by recent ADP. That's a little surprising for me. It's tough when you pick that early because a guy like McCaffrey and Freeman, they're just not going to fall back to you. So we're looking at a wide receiver here.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that maybe Fournette at 111. I'm not as high on Fournette this year. I could easily, take Melvin Gordon, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey ahead of him if I'm going to go running back. So that's a little strange for me. But other than that, I think you guys are right. This is pretty much right on. Definitely makes it tough. I was a little surprised to see McCoy go into the second round. Been seeing him slip. And Sal, I think Fantasy Pros, not only ADP, but I think they also mix in some of their expert, rankings and things like that. So there's some sort of algorithm that does that. But you're right here. Looking at the board, the expert suggestions for us, it's all wide receivers. I think if we wanted to see, running backs that were left, this is what we're working with here. McKinnon, Mixon, Jordan Howard, who I do like.
I would personally at this spot, I'd be very happy with Jordan Howard because we're going to pick up again in three picks after this, and those wide receivers are going to be back and available to us. So that would personally be my selection here, but I will turn to you, gents, for your opinion.
Yeah, I would say – go ahead, Kevin.
Nope. I was going to say I would lean Howard as well. I like the running backs. In fact, I would go crazy here, and you guys know I would probably take 2 running backs back to back here and look to pad my wide receivers in the next few rounds after that. But what about you, Steve?
I was just going to say I love Jordan Howard as well, but I'm looking to get him in the 3rd round every time I get him. And like Sal said, because we're going to be picking in just a couple more picks, I feel like if we snag a wide receiver right now in a Mike Evans or T.Y. Hilton, I think that there's a better chance of Jordan Howard being there in 2 picks than there is with Mike Evans. But that's just me.
So here's the only thing, and obviously this is something you want to look at when you're doing your drafts. The thing about the wide receiver for me is I'm looking at this team, what the other teams have selected. And we've obviously seen a lot of running backs go off the board, although a decent amount of wide receivers too. So 13 running backs to 8 wide receivers have been taken. So, I got to figure that you're right. The wide receivers are going to get taken here. So which wide receiver would you lean, Steve? Would you go Hilton or would you take Evans and hope that Hilton fell?
I would probably go with Evans. I think he's due for a pretty big bounce back this year. I think that Tampa Bay offense as a whole had a really down year. So I think he is still a wide receiver 1, and I would be happy taking him. But I like all of those guys that are right there. I like Hilton a lot too.
All right, Sal, give me your wide receiver pick because you've been overruled.
I'm not huge on Evans this year, but the value is good. But I have seen him slipping into the 3rd round, but back end of the 2nd and 3rd. So I think we're right on par. I do think that Diggs is going to have a breakout year this year. I know, Kevin, you're not as high on Diggs as I am, but I would come to consensus with you guys, and I would go with Evans.
All right, so we're taking Evans at 211. Came back around.
Jordan Howard goes right before us, Steve.
Steve screwed us. This draft is ruined.
And now, ruined. Kevin, why don't you punch up what the running back options are for us now that Joe Mixon and Jordan Howard went back-to-back. We're staring at Jerick McKinnon, the guy that we all have said we are not interested in this year. It is the 3rd round, so it's a little bit better than where we were seeing him go maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, but, it's tough here because you want to not take McKinnon and you want to look at Collins or Miller in the next round, but given we're going to be picking the end of the next round, I think it's very slim that we're going to get those guys coming back around. But the value just isn't here for running back. I don't know, Steve. You screwed us, so you fix it for us.
I've said this so many times that every single time I have not gone running back in the 1st and 2nd round this year, I have hated my running back options. And here we are.
It never works out. It never works out.
Here we are again. Mike Evans, you are not worth it, sir.
Yeah, like you said, I would probably go with another wide receiver here because the value for these running backs is not where you'd want them to be. That's where I would be looking, but because of what I've just done, I will not have any problem with whatever you guys decide.
So this mock has turned into what to not do by taking a wide receiver in the 2nd round.
Yeah, it is a good lesson in going running back heavy early. We've heard people talking about it. The one silver lining here is that we do have David Johnson. So that's
right.
It's a great start to the running back position. And because, there's 4 flexes in this setup, we'll be all right if we're a little wide receiver heavy. So I think since we're definitely, he's not going to come back around, and Sal's pretty high on Stefon Diggs. I guess, even though I would go Hilton here, I'm fine, Sal, if you want to take Diggs here.
Steve, make the tiebreaker. Hilton or Diggs? I already know your answer.
We could go with Diggs.
You
All
son
right,
of a.
so we're gonna hate this team completely, and we're gonna go with Diggs here. We see the first tight end coming off the board.
Look at that run of wide receivers that
Yeah.
just went.
Running
wide
backs.
receivers all over the place, but it does look like we're coming back around to one of our running backs that we did like here, Lamar Miller. Guys, he'd be the easy choice for me here.
Yeah, I'll go with Lamar Miller. We discussed this on our last episode. We like the fact that it's essentially his job and his job only. Deonta Foreman looks every bit like he's going to be back on the PUP list and not healthy for the beginning of the year. He's going to be a true 3-down back. We know he's very good at pass catching out of the backfield. So not hating getting Lamar Miller here at all. If you do, it seems to me, and this happened to us in the Pro-Am draft, Sleepwire Pro-Am, that if you do go with a wide receiver in one of those first 2 rounds, 4th round, you're looking at a guy like Lamar Miller.
Yeah, and he's usually going around the 5th round, but we're picking at the end of the 4th round. We're just a pick away, so it's not early to me. I agree with everything Sal said. I have no problem with Lamar Miller whatsoever.
So, guys, I want to get your thoughts on this. Royce Freeman at 4.7.
That's the latest I've seen him taken in any draft I've done so far.
And you know what? It's come out that Devontae Booker was named the starter on that team. Now, it might just be in word more than truth, but I think even at least for the start of the season, there's going to be a close to a split in that backfield. So I'm not comfortable with Royce Freeman at that spot. I don't think you're going to get him if you wait on him because people are high on him. But for me, I'd likely be passing.
Yeah, there's just I don't see any way. You just talked about how Lamar Miller has a clear shot to volume, which we know is key in this game, particularly when you're picking one of these types of running backs where it's not a stud guy. It's that next tier. And I can't see taking Royce Freeman over a guy like Lamar Miller. But we're going to go ahead and take Miller here so that we can solidify the running back position a little bit better here. Derrick Henry, another guy that you liked, Sal, comes off right after us and then followed by Allen Robinson. And we have some options here. We've seen 2 quarterbacks come off the board. Deshaun Watson went first over Tom Brady. Steve, what are your thoughts on Deshaun Watson, first overall quarterback?
I'm sorry. Aaron Rodgers did it?
Second. Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers did go 3-7. Sorry.
But Deshaun Watson was picked ahead of Tom Brady, and all I can say is no, sir, I don't like it. I do not like it at all. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. We know exactly what he is. We know what we saw from Deshaun Watson last year, and we also know that he hurt his knee. And so you're hoping that he comes back and that he is able to just replicate what he did last year. But I definitely am not putting all my eggs in that basket, definitely not taking him ahead of Tom Brady in any scenario and not taking him in the 4th round ever. So I do not like that pick at all.
So, guys, I told you I go running back heavy, but looking at the list of guys that are available, and it's just it's not great. So,
can you punch up for us, Kevin, the list of wide receivers available?
Wide receivers available, and keep in mind this is based on expert voting for the Fantasy Pros. We can go down here, and we can.
Yes. Let's see that list if you could scroll down on that.
Let's see if we can remove the drafted players so that we can see that here. And there's our wide receiver list right there.
Okay, just go back. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, so Jarvis Landry is gone.
Oh yeah,
Jarvis Landry is gone. Yes, he is.
I mean, Jarvis Landry would be a guy I would hope would fall to me there. His ADP is going up, unfortunately. The guy who's recommended for us is another guy who I do like a lot. Marvin Jones was a top 10 fantasy wide receiver last year, close to 5 actually. And I'd be very comfortable with him here. I am just not trusting Josh Gordon. The next guy recommended for us after Marvin Jones would be Josh Gordon. And I don't know if it's coincidence, but for some reason, Corey Davis is being circled. But
just
I will let you guys decide.
There.
I personally am not on Corey Davis in the 5th round. It's too high for me. I don't know that he's ready to make the next step. Kevin has made the point that he thinks he'll perform better than Landry and be a top 10, possibly top 5 wide receiver this year. I am not in that class. So It would be Marvin Jones for me, but Steve will be the tiebreaker and decide where we go here.
Yeah, I would go with Marvin Jones as well. I am not as high on Corey Davis as Kevin, but I do think he is going to make a turn, and I think he's going to have a much better year than last year. But when we talked about him and when Kevin was talking about him, it was mostly about his value, and getting him in the early 5th round, I don't think is the best spot. I would rather have Marvin Jones, someone that we saw have a good year last year, and nothing really has changed for his offense. So I would definitely go there.
Stop being afraid to click it.
His ADP is 62, so not the best of values here, I guess. What are we at pick
50,
right? 50. So, I can see what you guys are saying there. We will go with Marvin Jones, even though I think it's the wrong move. I'll tell you, here's the other thing about this particular selection, and one reason why I think Josh Gordon might be being suggested here. We have a pretty safe roster so far. We have some guys that Mike Evans, I guess you could say he had a down year last year, but you kind of know what you're going to get out of Mike Evans. You should know what you're going to get out of Diggs for the most part. Lamar Miller is a pretty safe bet, and I think we're all comfortable with David Johnson. So I think we're safe right now. Josh Gordon would definitely be the risky play with the huge upside.
Sounds like Kevin wants to live dangerously here.
No.
I'm a fan of safe.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So, I mean, to me, that pick comes down to, are you feeling like being safe, or do you want to take a little bit of a risk? Sounds like you want to be a little safer here. So we're going to go ahead and select Marvin Jones and watch the name fly off the board here.
That's right.
We see Corey Davis go at 5'10", which is right around the right ADP for him based on what we've seen. Another small run of running backs here as guys like Ajayi, Rashad Penny, Ingram, Chris Carson, Dion Lewis, Duke Johnson, Kerryon Johnson, and Marshawn Lynch all gone here. Running back is getting very thin.
Well, who would be the next running backs available for us here in the 6th round?
So
hello, Victoria's Secrets. How you doing?
Hey there. Yes. We are looking at Rex Burkhead, Chris Thompson, Tevin Coleman, Carlos Hyde, who's looked good. Guys like that.
So you got some Steve guys here. I'm seeing Jamal Williams available here, and
Here's the thing.
Go ahead, bud.
I was going to say, here's the thing with these guys. I don't know that the value's there on any of these guys, right? I mean, these are all guys I would expect to get in the 7th or 8th round, not necessarily where we're at right now.
Well, where are we at tight end wise? Who's available tight end wise?
Tight ends, we're looking at Olsen still available, the corpse of Delaney Walker, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, Trey Burton.
Olsen would be 4th off the board for tight ends. Obviously, the big three in Gronk, Kelsey, and Ertz are gone. Olsen is my 4th. Looked very spry in week 3. Looks every bit like he's ready to have another solid season. I'd be comfortable with Olsen here if you guys were willing to go tight end at this point. What are your feelings as far as quarterback goes here? Normally I would wait. It's a single QB league, but guys like Cam Newton are available, Drew Brees, Kevin's boyfriend, Andrew Luck, and Kirk Cousins. So what position would you guys like to address here?
I think the value definitely lies with the tight ends. There's more bigger names, guys that are going to be top end value at their position. Like Kevin said, with the running backs, it seems like we could wait another round or two, or you should be able to wait a round or two technically. I don't know if having the extra flex spots in there is maybe throwing that off a little bit where guys might be going a little higher, but I think that with the value that's at tight end, now wouldn't be a bad spot to go ahead and shore that spot up. And Greg Olsen is the safest tight end on there.
Wow, I disagree with you both.
Well, convince us, Kevin. Which way would you go?
I'll tell you what. I mean, obviously the experts are recommending Greg Olsen for us, and I get why you would do it. For me, quarterback and tight end right now are they're positions I'm waiting on. We've talked about it a lot, right? You're talking about you can get, Greg Olsen as the 4th tight end off the board here, and you can get, pretty safe play out of him in, out of the back end of the 6th round, or you can wait 4 more rounds and get, the guy that you're pretty high on, Sal, and David Njoku, or a guy that I've been taking late in Tyler Eifert, and grab a couple of tight ends late. I think that you can do that. And the same thing with quarterback. Marcus Mariota going very late in drafts right now, who I'm big on. Derek Carr is a guy that I think is sufficient in one quarterback leagues. Even Matt Stafford, who probably won't go for another couple of rounds. I just think you can wait on those positions.
I'll make a deal with you. I'd be okay waiting on tight end. I really would, as long as you promise to not draft Mariota.
All right. We won't draft Mariota. We will wipe him off of our draft board altogether. Having said that, I guess the guy that I would lean towards is either a Jamison Crowder. Steve, I know you love Cooper Kupp. I would be okay with him. Or I would, I like Chris Thompson, although I think you can get him a little bit later as well. So
my vote would be
Pierre Garçon.
Not on my list.
All right, boys, pick a wide receiver.
Crowder.
Say it.
We're all fans of Crowder.
Crowder.
We went with Crowder. We saw Robert Woods and Greg Olsen, one pick again.
Pick ahead of us. Greg Olsen goes.
Awesome.
Matt Scallions. Kev, so Chris Thompson is still there, so it was worth passing on him.
Yep. So here's the thing with that though. We're not getting a couple of these guys are going to go off the board with this heavy, large space in between these rounds for us. So
you almost have to reach at the ends. If you have a guy on there that you want, you have to reach. You have to be okay with taking them early because there's just too big of a gap to rely on and to hope that 20 picks from now, this guy might still be there. You have to look ahead. You have to, sometimes you have to take guys a little early.
You know what he's doing, Sal? He's trying to sell us on Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I know exactly what he's doing. Are we 7th round right now?
We are, yes, 7.2 is where we're at right now.
Well, for me, I know we just discussed this about waiting on quarterbacks. For me, 7th round, if I still saw Cam Newton there, I'd be taking Cam Newton because that's one of my guys. Cam is a guy I turn to yearly.
Over Drew Brees.
Yeah. He's the running aspect of his game, the rushing touchdowns, which traditionally we play in 4-point touchdown quarterback QB touchdown leagues. So the 6 points that he gets for the rushing. The guy was the number 1 overall or number 2 overall fantasy quarterback last year.
We have 2 running backs on our roster. I just want to make that clear.
I don't have a problem taking a running back here and hoping that also would fall to us in the 8th. But I'm sorry, Cam Newton would fall to us in the 8th. But I'm just saying where I would be if I was alone without you guys setting me up.
I would take Carlos Hyde over Jamal Williams.
So you would go Carlos Hyde here, not Thompson or Coleman or even Burkhead, who they're recommending for us.
Nope.
I'm not on Burkhead. I'm going to take Carlos Hyde and then let's trade him next week.
All right. So Carlos Hyde will be our pick. I would have leaned Thompson, but I'm okay with Hyde. So let's do that. Get another running back on the roster. And Cam
Newton went.
But
Jamal Williams.
Look at that, Sal. He's the only quarterback that went.
Yeah, I get it. He was the only one I want.
Oh, man. All right. So we are looking at some really ugly running backs here.
Well, Peyton Barber is a starter. So Peyton Barber's up there. Marlon Mack is a guy who I did like, but with the current state of affairs in Indy, both injury-wise, amount of guys available, offensive line still looks bad. I'm not reaching for Marlon Mack here, so I'm perfectly comfortable going in a different direction. And again, Peyton Barber is currently a starter in the NFL.
We did see some tight ends come off the board, in this last set of a group that went after us in Evan Ingram, Jordan Reed, Kyle Rudolph, Delaney Walker, all coming off the board. So the tight end's getting a little thinner. I think now's the time maybe where you could go, your quarterback tight end and sort of shore up your lineup here a little bit. Because I don't
when Cam's gone.
Now that Cam's gone, yes. Yeah, but look, that's what I'm saying. You can still get Drew Brees.
I'm perfectly happy with Drew Brees.
I would go with Drew Brees.
All right, so we're going to take Drew Brees, and we will see Carson Wentz and Kelvin Benjamin come off the board right after us.
I still can't see taking Wentz as
can't either
at that spot. It's just, first of all, he's not healthy. Second of all, the offense is unhealthy on a whole. It's just I see bad things, man, bad things.
All right, so The experts are saying Trey Burton 97%.
Well,
They
the experts,
think we need a tight end.
the experts, knowing that we already have a quarterback, are also recommending 3 quarterbacks.
Right. Right.
Thanks, guys.
So we may not take their advice here, but your guy Njoku getting closer to that point where he's going to be taken. Kittle's the guy that I'm high on. Again, I still think I might push it one more
I'd be
round.
comfortable waiting one more round on that. Did Peyton Barber go?
Let's take a look. Peyton Barber did not. He's still available. We can get him.
A starting running back in basically the 9th round. I'm okay with that.
Yep, I'm okay with that as well.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think I don't know that he's going to be the starting running back all year, but I think it's worth it in the beginning. So we can take that pick and we can see a lot more quarterbacks coming off the board. So I'm glad we grabbed ours. Wide receiver on a huge run there, because that's where the value is at this point.
Yeah,
there's nothing much left. Look, we still got our boy Njoku.
Oh, Steve.
Available.
Here we are. Jack Doyle, David Njoku. We brought these 2 guys up on last Tuesday's podcast.
Sal. 52% recommendation, 15%.
Mike Taglieri, if you're listening to this, talk to somebody over there and get that changed, please. I think I personally would want Njoku, and I know where Kevin would lean. So I think Steve's going to lose, but I'll let you guys figure it out.
I will say that this is a position that you can definitely go for upside. I think Doyle is the safer pick. And so maybe Fantasy Pros just has been like, hey, these guys pick super safe. We're going to go ahead and put Doyle up there. But no, Njoku has every opportunity and every chance and the athleticism. He is a good tight end. He could easily outscore Jack Doyle this year. So even if I would take Doyle first, I wouldn't have Njoku very far behind him. I have absolutely zero issue with taking him.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and fill out our starting roster with Njoku, and 2 picks go off the board. Jack Doyle is one of them. So, and Kenny Golladay goes as well. We're into the tough spots here. They want us to take a backup quarterback. There's no chance I would take a backup quarterback at this point. I'm saving that for pretty much next to last. Or last at that, in a single quarterback league. I do like the call of James White. I mean, James White's looked very good in the preseason. Tough with the Patriot running backs, we know that, but at the same time, James White has some insulated value as a good flex play and bye week fill-in.
I don't disagree, but I'd like to see what's around him. So if we could go and look at the overall rankings and position rankings and what's going on there, which you put up for me now. Yeah. How about wide receiver, Kevin? Could you scroll down to wide receiver?
Yeah, so guys that I like there before I scroll down, guys that I like here on this list, I just talked about James White. I don't hate Giovanni Bernard. I think people are down on him a little bit.
I hate him. He seems very smug.
Everyone's touting Joe Mixon. We know Giovanni Bernard's going to be used in that offense. And if for some reason Joe Mixon went down with an injury, Giovanni Bernard's value skyrockets. So I like him as well. You guys know my thoughts on Ty Montgomery, but these are guys we could probably push it a little bit and still get one of these guys in that general range. So
yeah, you got guys like Corey Clement, Adrian Peterson. You scroll down, I don't see them anymore. But Theo,
well, you asked for wide receivers. I'm giving you wide receivers.
So in this area is Keelan Cole, Kevin's guy Tyler Lockett, who's got a nice contract extension.
Payday.
Kevin, you can roll up one more time, back up to the running backs. Bilal Powell was the name. So Bilal Powell, we're in the 11th round here?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Bilal Powell's a starting running back in the NFL as of right now. He's outplayed Isaiah Crowell in the preseason. He's gotten more opportunity than Isaiah Crowell this season, and he's more experienced in that offense. So I like Bilal Powell here. If you didn't want to go running back, you want to go wide receiver, I can understand it, because I'd love to take a shot on a guy like Adrian Peterson in a round or so. So that brings us to Keelan Cole or Tyler Lockett. I'd be perfectly fine with either one.
I would probably lean towards Bilal Powell as well, but I also don't. We're square on running backs and wide receivers, what we got on our team. I wouldn't have a problem with Tyler Lockett either. especially with all the news that came out with Doug Baldwin this week. How
I've already
said,
hit the draft button.
no, he didn't need much.
So, if you guys remember the scene in American Pie where he doesn't quite make it to the bed, that was Kevin just now. As soon as he heard it was a possibility.
I heard someone say lock it. I went right for it. You guys
all
know
over
my
the place.
feelings on him. Look, the only other guy that I would have thought of in that position is a guy that went at 12.7, and I think I'm a little sad that he did.
Stop it.
My guy John Brown, but Sal, you say that, but I know that you're high on him now too.
I
have
do, but
secret love for him.
12 is earlier than he's been going, so I'm shocked. But in the meantime, gone are Bilal Powell, gone are Theo Riddick, gone are Aaron Jones. A lot of the running backs we were hoping would come back to us. Bilal Powell,
Adrian Peterson,
yeah, all gone because of somebody's love affair with Tyler Lockett. So
the handcuff Nick Chubb for us.
All right, so here's an interesting one. So it's showing Devontae Booker as our number one suggestion here. As I said before, with Royce Freeman, the coach announced that it's Devontae Booker who's the starting running back. So while we have some other running backs like Peyton Barber, who Kevin doesn't feel is going to be the long-term starter, that's probably the same thing for Devontae Booker. But do we take a shot in the 12th round on a guy who is being named the starter?
I think so. I think he's the easy choice here. Devontae Booker, again, as you mentioned, named the starter. I think they're going to give him a little bit of leeway here. I mean, everyone's high on Royce Freeman, but we don't know exactly how high on Royce Freeman the coaching staff is. And while he's made some big plays in the preseason, he scored some touchdowns. Overall, he hasn't been that much better than Booker, at least I don't think so. The touchdowns are big, but we all know touchdowns are fluky, and he's playing against the second and third strings, where Devontae Booker is playing against first string. So I would lean Booker here. Steve, you are the Denver fan, and even though your vote doesn't really count because it's already 2-0,
Yes.
What's your thoughts here?
I think that it will eventually be Royce Freeman's gig, but Devontae Booker is going to get the opportunity to do that. So I wouldn't have a problem taking him with this type of value in the 12th round, like you said.
Worst case scenario, I mean, this is PPR, and he's going to probably be at least remaining as the pass catching back in that backfield.
Correct.
So it's not like he's going to lose value altogether should it go to a 50-50 split.
All right, so we take Devontae Booker. We currently have 2 of our flex spots filled out here, and Dez Bryant, Chris Godwin go off the board at 12.12 and 13.1 respectively. And
Kind of sucker took Dez Bryant in the 12th.
yeah, that seems a little early considering he doesn't have a job, and it doesn't look like he's getting a job for a while. Maybe they're really hoping for that playoff run.
All right, so we have 4 spots left. With Njoku, I'm sure we're going to at some point want to get another tight end because while we all feel there's a lot of upside to him and he's due for a big year, I'm sure we're going to probably want to take a second guy there. So, Kevin, what are we looking at tight end-wise right now?
If we were to look at tight ends for the experts, we're looking at Clay, Charles Clay,
Woo-hoo!
Eric Ebron, and let's just scroll down here and see what else we got for choices. Steve's favorite, Cameron Brate, Jared Cook, Ben Watson, who's a guy I've been taking late. We talked about him a little bit in one of our chats today. Obviously, playing with Drew Brees,
Are you
some
chat
built-in
cheating?
value there. What's that?
Are you chat cheating? What chat are you?
Mike.
No, you're in there. Scroll back.
Sorry, I just wasn't in there today.
Wow. All
I
right,
understand
then.
it. You know me, Kevin. Obviously, I'm not paying attention.
All right. But I'd probably hold off on going for one of those guys since you can get a Ben Watson or a Hooper or
or even a Ricky Seal-Jones, which a lot of people
Jones.
are.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think we continue to hammer the running back just because why not?
Do it.
There's still some wide receivers.
I like John Ross.
Oh,
You like John Ross in this pick right now?
John Ross is not Corey Clement.
Even John Ross's mother wouldn't take John Ross right here.
Mrs. Ross loves the
would.
boy.
I don't
She
know that.
would.
Do you think that? So John Ross, you think will go in the next round and a half before we pick here, or round and 3/4?
Yes. But if you would like to take Corey Clement,
We know Sal's voting for Corey Clement.
I say John
Um,
Ross. Kevin, decide.
I'm going to stick with Clement, even though I'm not a big Clement fan. I do think we need to hit the running back here and just continue to put those on our roster. So I'm going to go with Clement. We will see what happens here.
So interesting note, Mike Clay just tweeted that neither Jordan Wilkins or Nyheim Hines was played tonight, which means to me, both of those guys are looking at some extended playing time in week 1. Hines has been struggling. Good news, Steve. John Ross is still on the board.
I see it. Yeah.
I think that's good news, though, for Hines owners who drafted him early and are sitting there staring and wonder if they should keep them on their bench.
I don't know about that. It is good.
You're an idiot.
It's great news for Christine Michael, right?
No, not if they were using him tonight. That means Christine Michael will be cut before Saturday.
By the way, all right, Steve. So your boy is here. I feel, even though Frank Gore is here as well, you feel obligated to take John Ross.
Yeah, I'd be John Ross over Frank Gore here.
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
Especially since Kenyon Drake is getting 30 touches a game now.
Sal, before we get to John Ross, just give me an argument for any other wide receiver here that you might consider taking. Just throwing it out there.
It's very odd. I don't know if your computer has a virus, but for some reason it just keeps circling around Dante Moncrief.
That is weird.
It's so weird.
And Dante Moncrief was the first replacement for Marquise Lee when he was injured. Playing opposite Marquise Lee was Keelan Cole. So Keelan Cole was already on the field, and Moncrief is the replacement. Kevin, 2015, I loved Moncrief. Man, we were all excited. Things were good. I had a few more stubbles of hair on my head. It was a good time, but I'm just not feeling it still, man. I'm not feeling it.
All right. So John Ross is the pick here. We'll take him. And then we see Frank Gore and Matt Ryan go off the board. Should we consider our backup quarterback yet or wait until the last round?
Well, we have 2 picks left. We're
There's
either going to go with –
I would take the tight end myself.
Scroll it.
Ben Watson again still around.
He prefers to be called Benjamin.
Benjamin Watson, and I know that to not be a fact. Actually.
Well, it just says it. So.
Yeah, Benjamin Watson would be my pick there.
I'll be okay with you guys if you take Benjamin Watson. Personally, I would be Ricky Seals-Jones or Vance McDonald here, but I would be okay if you guys go Benjamin Watson.
I can't do Vance McDonald. I just don't see it. I think everyone wants to make the tight end in Pittsburgh a thing, and it's just not. There are too many other options there. I just can't. I know you're big on Vance McDonald, but I just can't see it happening.
I will just enjoy all the pleasure of having him on my dynasty team. So
you enjoy that tight end all to yourself. Steve, what about Butt in Denver?
I like Jake Butt.
Steve's enjoying Butt?
Yeah, Steve likes a good Denver Butt.
I guess that's what all the kids are doing these days. But anyway, I do like Jake Butt. Unfortunately, he's not listed as a starter on the depth chart there. They have one Jeff Heuerman that is currently ahead of him. But I think they are going to get Jake Butt more acclimated to the offense. I think he's going to weasel his way in there, and he's going to take over that job. I like Jake Butt. I've got him in dynasty teams. And if you have a deep, deep bench, I think he's worth a late flyer. But Benjamin Watson is a starting tight end on a really good offense. He's the guy.
So you're saying Denver will get to some Butt stuff later in the season?
Correct. That is correct.
Oh, great. We'll go with Benjamin Watson here. The experts agree with us, and we see a few run on quarterback here. We're getting low on the totem pole there. That's not great. Oh, no. It's never good when Blake Bortles is your option.
The Bortles train.
There we go. I will tell you, obviously, let's just pull up the quarterbacks because since that's where we're going here. Interesting enough, when you change it to just quarterbacks, they recommend Eli Manning. That's probably where I would go as well. But if you wanted to take a shot on Trubisky and see if he turns into something.
You expect Steve to say yes to that?
No, I don't. Yeah.
Let me tell you who I'm warming up to. I'm warming up to Andy Dalton. The weapons, John Ross, AJ Green. Eifert is healthy for now. Both running backs look like they're going to catch the ball out of the backfield. I'm really warming up to Dalton. I'm okay if you go with Eli. That's, been my guy for years. But, this week I've been leaning on Dalton in a few places.
Here's the guy who I think has the highest upside. And when you already have Drew Brees on your roster, I think you can take a little bit of a risk here. Jameis Winston has looked really good in this preseason. I know he's suspended for the first 3 games, but and we shouldn't need him with Drew Brees, right? So we can wait those 3 games out. I might, you could probably take him a couple of weeks into the season or a week into the season. You can pick him up off waivers because he might not be drafted, but I might stash him on my bench here and wait those 3 weeks and see what happens.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I would probably still lean Eli. Definitely, I'd take a shot. Well, I don't hate Dalton either. I like the Cincinnati offense this year to make a big comeback. So I don't hate any of these guys, which is why we wait as long as we do.
All right. So it is our last pick. You get one choice here. Steve, go.
Eli.
Sal.
Yeah, consensus is Eli.
All right, Eli it is. I do like Eli. I think that he's going to have a good year. So everyone's predicting huge things for the New York Giants offense, and yet somehow Eli Manning is still going in the second to last pick of a 16th round draft. So, all right, we got a grade of B, 86 out of 100 here. So I think
Fantasy Pros.
I think Fantasy Pros doesn't love it, but let's see our projected standings. How about that? Whoa, we're not going to do that. So we're going to go ahead and
let's give out all Kevin's information. Oh my God. We were in a vortex for a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We are back. That's it for the draft. That was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for going through that with us. I think we've probably bored everyone to death. But
not Kareem. He was posting it on Twitter. Very excited.
Everyone's posting.
Draft!
Looks like the chat was going on YouTube as well. Remember that we try to tweet out the YouTube feed where you can watch us. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, check out all the places you can find us on social media, which Steve will get to in 1 minute, and see if you can join us, because most times we're chatting it up in the YouTube chat while we're broadcasting. So Steve, you want to tell them where they can find us?
Yes, you can go ahead and find us on Twitter at FF Funhouse. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Fantasy Football Funhouse there. And then, of course, you can go to fantasyfootballfunhouse.com, where you can find all of our podcasts. You can find whatever ramblings that Sal decides to come up with that are, very from the heart and all that good stuff. You can find.
He's going to be singing Beyond for the rest of his night.
That's great. And so just go Fantasy Football Funhouse anywhere on the internet. Go look for
it. I'll never let go, Jack.
All right.
Please.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Yeah. Well, you Jeff Janis truthers, he's playing in the fourth quarter of the fourth game of the preseason. Let it go. Let it go. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say other than good luck to everybody on their drafts this weekend. It's a big weekend for you guys. Thank you for coming out and listening to the show. And if you ever go out on a Thursday night for steaks, check the price of the specials before you order it, eat it, and then get the bill. Going to be tough. A little tighter rent this week.
Couldn't chew and screw at a nice place like that, huh?
Oh, my gosh. Nope.
All right. So for me, I usually end by letting everyone, reminding everyone to throw some charitable aspect into your fantasy playing experience. But tonight, I just want to give well wishes to our good friend Sal Stefanali. He posted something on Twitter earlier tonight about his dad having some medical issues, and it's horrible when you hear stuff like that. So if you could send thoughts, prayers, well wishes, whatever it is that you do and whatever it is that you believe in. Any positivity you can send towards Sal would be great. He's a top-notch individual in this industry, always one of the first people to promote others, to say good things about other people and to share work and just always pumping people up for no gain of his own. So great guy, great person. Really wish him and his family the best, through this time. So that's it for us tonight, and we will be back next week.